One of the things that I love the most about Jesus is that Jesus understood that there were times that he had to slow it down. Now, Jesus didn't have all that many friends. He had a lot of followers, lots of followers. Like, he definitely would have been verified on Instagram. But friends, he had his disciples, and I wouldn't even think that all of his disciples were his boys. They were his students. He had like 3 that the scripture talks about over and over again that were like his boys, Peter, James, and John. And then there's like this one family that's interestingly mentioned over and over in the Gospels, and it's like 2 sisters and a brother. It's Mary, Martha, and Lazarus. And Jesus basically had like an Airbnb at their house. Like, Jesus kicked it at their house. Over and over again, there are times in the scripture where Jesus just went and chilled at their house. And there's like this really cool story in the Gospel of Luke that tells about a time where Jesus decides he's got to slow his roll, and he's going to do that by going and hanging out with his people. He's going to go hang out with his friends. As Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. Martha had a sister called Mary who sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he said, but Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. She came to him and asked, "Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do the work by myself? Tell her to help." "Martha, Martha," the Lord answered, "you're worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed, only one. Mary has chosen what's better, and I'm not going to take that away from her." Now, here's the scene, because sometimes we read scripture, it's like flat, and it's 2-dimensional, it's on thin pages that bleed through with highlighters, and you don't put yourself into it. But here's the scene. Jesus has been working like hard. He's been preaching, teaching, healing, feeding. He's been debating with and defending against critics, like the worst kind, the religious ones. And Jesus comes out of this really, really busy season, and he's ready to just chill. And so he stops at his friend's house so that he can talk and laugh and cut up and unwind. And as soon as Jesus gets to the crib, one of the sisters immediately sits down. The other sister immediately stresses out. The other sister goes into the kitchen and she starts cooking, and while she's stressing, Jesus and Mary are kicking it. Jesus is cracking jokes and he's telling stories, but can you imagine Jesus telling stories like, y'all, come on. Like, how dope would that be? Like, you ever get around somebody who's a really great, like a grandpa or somebody who's like a really great storyteller, and Jesus can just like weave a tale, and Mary is listening, she's laughing, but Martha, she was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made.